Hey everyone, this is my first ever video update, so we'll see how that goes. It's sunset at Snowden Road, just looking out over the hills. So this update is going to be about the garage actually, and not the house, since that's the thing I'm actually working on. Anyway, as you can see, yard is doing okay. It's spring. Casey did a lot of work picking up leaves the last 2 days. So here's the garage. It's about 550 square feet, built in the 1990s when they redid the property. And they definitely cut a few corners, so I've been putting a bunch of work in to, get it up to the standards that I feel like are going to be needed for the amount of work I'll be doing in there. We're right here on the road. There's basically no driveway, as you can see. In the sales brochure when I bought the house, it called it a short and sweet driveway. For anyone who was curious what the fate of the glass bar is, it is here parked next to the garage by my woodshed. I'm about to get a new trailer for it, or a new used trailer. So that's going to be the salmon fishing machine for the summer. So this building's pretty much a square, 23 by 23, and it's framed out of 2x6 walls. Has one window, this little man door and the garage door. So when we got it, it was covered in terrible shelving and drywalled, except they used really thin drywall and didn't put enough screws in, so it had been falling down. So that was pretty bad. But luckily it made us rip out the drywall, which I think I wouldn't have gone nearly this far had I not needed. Here's the garage with a bunch of upgraded electrical and plumbing that I've been working on. I have not switched over to using the new system yet. So right now the whole garage is running off of this absolutely massive twin 20 amp breaker panel here. This is fed from the house with a 40 amp over a 10-3 wire, which I think is a slightly optimistic ampacity for that thing. You also note that we're only using actually one of the two breakers, so I only really have 20 amp 120 volt service in here. What I'm going to do now is still use that 40 amp feed from the house temporarily, but use it to power this new panel that I put in over here, which is a 100 amp main like residential panel. It's going to be my sub panel. Once I have time, I'm going to dig a trench and actually put in real 100 amp quality service and put a 100 amp breaker inside, so I can use everything to its full potential. So here I've got 4 40 amp 240 volt and then 4 20 amp 120 volt. These are all the outlets. I'm going to add one more of those for lights and like the garage door opener. And then these 40 amp will let me run the air compressor, the welder. So I've got boxes. This one isn't finished, but in each corner of the garage I'm going to have a higher power outlet, So right now, like over here, the compressor is going to move into this corner. The compressed air lines are all copper. I just finished running those yesterday and leak testing it. So that runs all the way around the wall, along with all my new outlets. And yeah, that'll be quite an upgrade from what I had in here. The insulation, you'll notice I got 2x6 framing, but they used really cheap thin R11, which is meant for 2x4s. It's not even like modern 2x4 insulation, it's R13. So it's only half filling the wall. So before I seal up the walls, I got a bunch more insulation over here, and I'm going to sort of finish the insulating and bring it up to a reasonable amount of insulation. If you're wondering why my 20 amp breakers here are so wide and have this purple button on it, it's because they're an actual ground fault interrupt and arc fault interrupt breaker, which means that you don't need to put that in the outlets. So the latest electrical code actually requires that on all receptacles. So this is the one of those, and you can tell it's the purple. There are different color codes for the reset button depending on which capabilities it has. So this is like the top of the line, like homeowner kind of breaker for a 20 amp. So this breaker costs $50. For perspective, the whole panel with like 4 conventional breakers was $60. So I'm gonna have $250 worth of just these breakers in a $60 main panel. But that's apparently how we have to do it these days. You could do it a few other ways, like running ground fault and arc fault outlets, but I believe this is kind of the way the industry is trending right now. I'm going to cover the walls with plywood that I found that's the most affordable kind of nice option. So it's a 1/2 inch ply it's called an MDO plywood. So it has like a paper resin sheeting on the front. It's used for making signs. So I'm picking up, I think, like 25 or something sheets of that to do all the walls. And then I ordered a metal roofing product to do the ceiling.
Hello everyone! It's Sunday, March 18th, the day after St. Paddy's Day. We've been listening to Irish radio all day, so it's hard to stop dancing. But we put the first part of the ceiling in. It's metal roofing. It went pretty well. We have 15 more pieces to go. The first one is up.
Well, there's a little girl and her name is Mary Mac. Make no mistake, she's the girl I'm gonna attack. And a lot of other fellas, they would get up on her track. But I'm thinking that they'd have to get up early. But Mary Mac's father making Mary Mac marry me. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Max. Well, this little lass, she has a lot of class, got a lot of brass, and her father thinks I'm gas, and I'd be a silly ass for to let them on the pass. Well, you didn't think I'd make it, did you? And Mary Mac's father making Mary Mac marry me. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Mary and her mother go an awful lot together. In fact, you hardly ever see the one without the other. And the people wonder whether it is Mary or her mother, or the both of them together that I'm courting. And Mary Mac's father making Mary Mac marry me. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. The wedding's on a Wednesday and everything's arranged. Soon her name will change to mine unless mine is changed. And with making the arrangements I'm just about to arrange, marriage is an awful undertaking. And Mary Mac's father making Mary Mac marry me. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac.